Hello, my angel bugs. How are we all today? I hope you guys are having a great day. Welcome back to Trapped by Love. My name is Emma Carrington, and if you are interested in true crime and justice, you are in the right place. By way of disclaimer, we discuss true crime cases involving domestic abuse and domestic homicide on this channel, so if this is not the kind of content you are looking for, I completely understand. Thanks for stopping by. For those of you who have been here before and find this channel and its content valuable, could I ask you to please hit the subscribe button? I promise it will cost you nothing, but it will help to push these videos out to more people. And by doing so, we can hopefully spread awareness of the warning signs of domestic abuse that people may otherwise overlook. But either way, and wherever you're tuning in from, please know that I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and get into today's case. Today we're going to be discussing the Australian case of Allison Baden Clay. When I put this case on my enormously, stupendously long list, for some reason I had it in my mind that it happened in the 90s. But no, it actually happened only 10 years ago. Maybe that's the problem. I still think that the 90s was only 10 years ago. I'm old. It happened. Anyway, let me tell you about Allison. Allison June Dickey was born on the 1st of July in 1968. She grew up in Ipswich in Queensland with her mum Priscilla and dad Jeff, as well as her brother Ashley and sister Vanessa. They were a very close-knit family. Allison was a bright and talented girl who from a very early age studied and strived to achieve perfection in whatever she attempted. This included ballet. She loved to dance and was really good at it. She lit up the stage with her talent and passion. In high school, Allison was an exchange student and she lived with her host families in Denmark for 12 months. This gave her an opportunity to travel through Europe. Oh, I wish. The experience sparked her incentive to travel the world and study various languages while teaching English. In all, Allison spoke 6 languages. Allison entered the Miss Queensland competition to fundraise for the Cerebral Palsy organisation and was ultimately crowned Miss Brisbane in 1993. Allison went on to graduate from university with a degree in psychology. She then found a job working at Flight Centre, and this is where she met Gerard Baden Clay. Gerard's claim to fame was that he was the great-grandson of Scouts founder Lord Baden-Powell. Gerard Robert Baden Clay was born in England on the 9th of September 1970. But the family must have moved around a lot because in 71, Gerard's family had migrated from Zambia to Rhodesia, where they changed their family name to Baden Clay to associate the family with the aforementioned Lord Baden-Powell of Scouting fame. Then, in 1980, the Baden Clay family migrated to Australia. After leaving school, Gerard trained in accountancy before landing the job at Flight Centre. Not long after meeting, Gerard turned on the charm and Allison fell for him. She fell deeply in love with him, and on the 23rd of August 1997, they married. Her family and friends were not so keen on the seemingly silver-tongued Gerard. He said all the right things, kinda, but still they just weren't sold. Her friends supported Allison because they could see that she loved this man, but they thought that she was too good for him, and they didn't like that he wasn't authentic. He didn't come across as genuine. That, and he seemed to think he was superior to everyone. The couple went on to have 3 daughters. Allison was a devoted mum, and from the outside looking in, the family was perfect. A happy couple with their beautiful children. They were living in the upscale, prestigious area of Brookfield. However, things were not as they appeared. Not by a long shot. Gerard was no longer working at Flight Centre. He'd been laid off while Allison had been promoted. But that's okay because Gerard decided to take on the world of real estate. But he didn't just join an agency. He started his own. Can we say narcissist much? We don't label here. We don't label. Unless they've been diagnosed, we don't label. But just. Allison wound up a stay-at-home mum with her 3 little ones, and Gerard was always at work. This, of course, ended up causing tension and issues within their relationship. But there were more underlying problems than just the lack of time together. Jared was controlling and worked hard to isolate Allison from her family and friends. He would monitor her phone conversations using baby monitors around the house. He would remove phone numbers from her mobile. He put her down about everything, from her looks to her parenting. He told her she was worthless. So Allison was constantly trying to improve herself and her appearance to measure up to the expectations of her husband. Her friends say that he was emotionally cruel to Allison, telling her he didn't love her. He degraded her daily. He would tell her that she was lazy and that the meals she prepared was horrible. He had her convinced that she was not a good wife or mother. All these things broke her down. Jared took a beautiful, capable, happy, and intelligent woman and reduced her to feeling she had to prove that she was worthy of her husband. This guy. Now, in case you are wondering, these behaviors are considered coercive control, and coercive control is a sinister form of emotional abuse. However, 10 years ago, it really wasn't something that was discussed. We know now that it is abuse, and often the first act of physical abuse is homicide. So even though she was probably aware that her marriage wasn't the fairy tale that she'd hoped for as a child, Allison didn't recognize that what she was living with was abuse. And she wanted a loving family for her daughters. She wanted her marriage to work out. So the couple went to counseling. Just a side note, if you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, couples counseling is really not advisable. It can go disastrously in a number of ways, at least 2 ways. Either the abusive party will be challenged by the therapist about their behavior, and this can escalate their abuse at home, or they may be validated by the therapist and use this to justify their behaviors or further blame the victim. Because, see, even the therapist says it's not me. It's a lose-lose. I recommend individual therapy, but not couples therapy. Okay, I'm done. The counseling really didn't do anything to help them though, because Jared was a narcissistic prick, but also he was having an affair, a very lengthy affair, with a woman at his real estate agency by the name of Tony McHugh. This was something Allison became aware of. However, she was not aware of the terrible state of their financial affairs. That's because her husband controlled the money and her spending. Jared had been using their personal savings to prop up his failing business. He'd also racked up nearly $1 million in debt. And you know that home they were living in the swanky area? Well, none of that $1 million went on it because they didn't own it. They were renting. Now, I'm not putting down renters at all. The vast majority of us are or have been renters at one point or another, but this guy owns a real estate agency and not a house. Maybe I'm just being judgmental. I just find that odd and poor money management. Anyway, things had gotten so bad financially at his agency in October of 2011, Jared had to lay off a number of staff, including his mistress, Tony. That's such a dated word, mistress. What else should I call her? The other woman. Sorry, fixating. Well, financial reasons was the line he fed Tony. In fact, this was when Allison had found out about the affair, and this led to Tony being dropped from his agency and his life after telling her for the past 3 to 4 years that he was going to leave Allison for her. After she'd left her husband and children for him, I'm sure this went over real big with her. So the cowardly creep that he is cut and run. It didn't stick though, of course. It took all of 2 months before he was creeping around again. So He now was having Allison come in to help out in the office part-time, and on Thursday, the 19th of April 2012, Allison finished up her day's work and headed to the hairdresser to have her hair done. And Jared headed home. Once she had finished at the salon, Allison went home and put her girls to bed. Then she and Jared sat down to have a talk about the problems in their marriage. At around 10 p.m, Jared headed up to bed, leaving his wife on the lounge watching the footy show. Now, the account of the evening's events, as I've laid them out here, are according to Jared, because when he wakes on the morning of the 20th of April, Allison is gone. She is nowhere to be found. Jared woke up around 6 a.m. and finding her not in their home, he figured that she must have gone for a walk. He sent her a message about 20 past saying, "Good morning. Hope you slept well. Where are you? None of the girls are up yet. Love, G." Which is a bit of an odd message. Very, very lovey-dovey for someone who generally didn't sleep in the same bed as his wife. But, okay. When the girls, who were 10, 8 and 5, began getting up for the day, they called out asking where their mum was. Jared rushed from the ensuite with shaving cream all over his face to let his middle child know that her mum had gone for a walk. Then dashed back in to shave, presumably, because when the children saw him next, the shaving cream was gone from his face, but there were two major and one small scratches running down his, right cheek. When they asked about the marks, he said he had cut himself shaving. Jared went on to call and message Allison's phone a number of times, then called his dad to come and be with his daughters while he went out to search for his wife. It was on this drive that he called 000.
Go ahead, Telstra.
253960.
Thank you. Police emergency. What's your location?
Good morning, Brookfield.
Whereabouts in Brookfield, sir?
593 Brookfield Road, Brookfield.
And what's happening there?
I don't want to be alarmist. I tried the 131 number, but just went on forever.
Yep.
My wife isn't home. I don't know where she is.
Okay. When did you last see her, sir?
Last night when we went to bed, when I went to bed, and I got up this morning and she wasn't there, and that's not unusual. She often goes for a walk in the morning.
Yep.
I've texted her and called her a number of times. I think she has her phone with her.
Yep.
And
what time does she normally get back when she goes for a walk?
This morning she was planning to. She has a seminar in the city, so she was planning to leave by around 7.
Okay.
And she's not back home yet.
Okay. All right. And what's your wife?
I'm now driving the streets. My father's come over and to look after my children.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your name first of all?
I'm sorry. Jared. Gerard.
And your last name, Jared?
Baden Clay. Baden.
Yep.
-Clay.
And what's your wife's name?
Allison with 2 L's.
And same surname?
Same surname.
Okay. And how old is Allison?
44.
Okay. So you didn't see her before she got up this morning, so...
No.
Okay. All right. And what's her mobile number?
0401.
Yep.
149.
Yep.
013.
013. Okay. All right. And how tall is your wife?
Molly, about 5'6", something like that, I think.
Okay. And what colour hair has she got?
She just had it done last night. It's sort of a blondie, brownie, reddish sort of thing.
Yep. And how long is it?
Shoulder length.
Shoulder length. Okay. What I'll do, I'm going to put a broadcast on for the police to keep a lookout for your wife. Are you going to go back home? Because we'll get police to come and see you.
I need to go home and get the kids ready for school.
Yep. All right, Jared. I'll get police to come and see you, okay? What's the best contact number for you?
0400.
Yep.
456.
Yep. Okay, just give us a call back if she hasn't returned before police get there, okay? All right, thanks, Jared. Bye-bye.
The conference that Allison was supposed to be attending that morning may have some bearing and significance in this case because both Allison and Tony were supposed to be attending. However, it was only the evening before, in one of their regular phone calls, that Jared had revealed this fun fact to Tony. She was furious. She felt blindsided and started questioning his intentions about their relationship. Jared once again swore that he loved her, though, and promised that they would be together. So what happened in that talk about their marriage problems that Jared said that he and Allison had when she got home? Was Allison's reaction the same as Tony's when he divulged this information about the upcoming conference? Did he tell her he was leaving her? Did she tell him she couldn't deal with his crap anymore? Or did he just chicken out of telling her at all, deciding to deal with the issue in a completely different manner? Not long after placing the 000 call, 2 police officers arrived at the Baden Clay residence. They watched as Jared's sister took the children to the car in order to take them to school. The officers were immediately suspicious after looking around the quite obviously recently cleaned house, like the house had been tidied before their arrival, and having seen Jared's father taking a vacuum cleaner out to his car when they arrived. These things started adding up, along with the marks on Jared's face, which he once again tried explaining away with his cut myself shaving story. But when the police went into the master bathroom, they didn't find any bloody tissues or towels or any other evidence that he had doctored these wounds this morning. One of the officers took a moment to call their sergeant and express their suspicions. They had very little hope from the outset that Allison was going to come wandering down the driveway at any tick of the clock. They felt very strongly that this man in a suit, tie and cufflinks with claw marks on his face had killed his wife. He really didn't help this by taking one of the officers aside and spontaneously offering up the information that he had been having an affair. He assured police that it was over, but of course, in reality, it wasn't. Jared went on to tell police that he would answer any questions and help however he could, but within 2 hours, he had contacted an attorney, and his attorney had advised that Jared would not be making any statements. 2 hours after calling the police, he lawyered up. Seriously? Is he trying out for the part of lead suspect? I don't think he could have done a better job. He's taken into the station to be questioned and asked to remove his shirt in order for police to check him for any other injuries. And that's when they found a cut to his hand and further red scratch marks to his chest. He put these marks on his chest down to having been bitten by a caterpillar. Yeah. His defense is the very hungry caterpillar. This guy's an idiot. The police quickly cordon off the house as a crime scene, and Sergeant Jackson calls in all available officers to the search. At one point, there were over 80 police out looking for Allison in the area surrounding her home. The police set up a command centre in the showground just down the road from the Baden Clay home, and this is where they ran their search from. Allison's family were there until all hours, helping with the search. There was definitely a notable absence, though. Jared. He was not there. He was not out searching. He was not helping at all. And by all accounts, neither were his family. Over the following days, the search continued and police took the family cars in for forensic inspection. Then, on the 30th of April, a canoeist or a kayaker, not really sure of the difference, I don't do outside much, but whatever they were floating down the Colo Creek in, they spotted a body on the bank. They recognised the clothes as what Allison was reportedly last seen wearing. And this is because police had dressed a mannequin in these clothes in an attempt to jog people's memories of seeing her on her walk. And the image had been plastered everywhere. Where the body had been found was about 13 kilometres from the Baden Clay residence in Brookfield. The following day, police released a statement that the remains had been positively identified as those of Allison Baden Clay. The autopsy that was conducted reported that the cause of death could not be determined. Allison's funeral was held in Ipswich at St Paul's Catholic Church on the 11th of May. Gerard was in attendance, crying, holding his daughters and grieving alongside Allison's family. Police still weren't buying the act though, and they had bugged the flowers at the funeral. Police set the trap in the hope that he might break down if left alone with the coffin. This didn't yield the sobbing confession they hoped for. Not surprising. Those without a conscience don't generally apologise to their victims. Police were covering all their bases though, and had Gerard under surveillance, and they were also monitoring his phone calls, including those he was still having with Toni McHugh, his other woman. On the 13th of June 2012, Gerard was formally interviewed at Indooroopilly Police Station and charged with Allison's murder and for interfering with her corpse. He maintained his innocence and said he would be strenuously defending the charges. Gerard's bail application was denied on the 22nd of June because Justice David Bodice said he posed a significant flight risk. Police continued their investigation after arresting Gerard and found that he had made promises to Toni that he would be free and able to be with her after the 1st of July, which just happened to be Allison's birthday. In 2012, she would have been 44. The investigators found that before calling police on the 20th of April, someone, let's not point fingers, but someone had used the computer in Gerard's home to Google right to silence. That's not sus at all, is it? They also found that he had gone to not one, but 2 different GPs trying to find someone to make notes that the scratches to his face were indeed shaving cuts. However, no one else is as stupid as he is, so they didn't. He even tried to tell them that the police had sent him to get these documented, which was a lie. Forensic technicians went through the home and found that there was no blood on the razor that Gerard said he had cut himself with. However, when they processed the cars, they did find blood in Allison's vehicle. The technicians found what they described as a contact stain that dripped down to the floor. The day he had reported Allison missing, Gerard had also called Toni to tell her that they shouldn't speak for a while and they needed to lay low. But Gerard just couldn't help himself. He kept calling Toni. Now he was just doing it from payphones. He even called her while police were in the process of questioning Toni. He called saying, "Can you talk?" She said, "No, not really. I'm having a nice sit down with the police at the moment." He wanted to know if she'd told the police that they were still seeing each other. And she said, "Well, yes, I have, because that's the truth." But it wasn't Gerard's truth. He had woven his twisted tales and was sticking to the story he had told police that he had had an affair, past tense, and it had been over for a year. The day that Allison had been found, before her remains had been formally identified, Gerard was making calls to claim her life insurance. Yep, that's right. Allison's life was insured for $800,000, and Gerard couldn't even wait until dental records confirmed that it was indeed his wife before trying to claim the cash. Thankfully, police were one step ahead and had frozen the policy, and he wasn't able to access the funds. The trial began in the Brisbane Supreme Court on the 10th of June 2014. Gerard pleaded not guilty to the charges. Evidence was presented that Allison had leaves in her hair, 6 different types, and that only 2 types were found by the creek. However, all 6 of the species of plants were found in Allison's own backyard. Police theorised that after killing Allison, Jared dragged her across the back patio and lifted her into her car. On the 15th of July, he was found guilty of murdering Allison. He was given a life sentence with a non-parole period of 15 years. The charge of interfering with a corpse was dropped. On the 7th of August 2015, Jared appealed his conviction to the Queensland Court of Appeal. On the 8th of December, his conviction was downgraded to manslaughter on the ground that the evidence at trial was not able to exclude a reasonable hypothesis that there was a physical confrontation between Jared and his wife in which he delivered a blow which killed her, for example, by the effects of a fall hitting her head against a hard surface without intending to cause serious harm. The decision of the Court of Appeal was controversial, to say the least. There was a strong public reaction and a large rally was organised calling for an appeal to the High Court of Australia. On the 18th of December 2015, a crowd estimated at around 4,000 people gathered in King George Square in the centre of Brisbane to support the proposal that the decision be appealed. Some members of the legal profession, in turn, were vocal in defending the decision handed down by the Court of Appeal. Prominent Queensland lawyer Terry O'Gorman, for example, said that you don't have a murder case or any other case decided by who can yell out the loudest in the media, and that those who don't like it have to cop it because that's the law. However, in an unusual move, the Queensland Director of Public Prosecutions decided to appeal against the downgrade. The following year, on the 31st of August 2016, more than 4 years after Allison had died, the High Court of Australia restored the murder conviction from the original trial.
If anyone wants to clap, now is the time to do it.
Thank the Lord. However, his non-parole period will be up in 5 years. And then this poor family will be fighting to keep him behind bars every 18 to 24 months. Since Allison's murder, her older sister Vanessa has been speaking out about domestic violence and has set up the Allison Baden Clay Foundation, which I will put a link to in the show notes if anyone would like to check it out. That, my friends, is all I have for you today. If the content in this case has raised any concerns for you regarding your own relationship or that of a loved one, please reach out for help. There is a list of resources in the show notes and the description box below. Please know that you're not alone. There is help out there. My aim in covering these cases is to honour the victims of these crimes and to get their stories out there in the hopes of warning others who may face similar situations. The hope is that the more people who recognise the red flags and warning signs of abusive relationships, the less prevalent these cases will be in the future. Knowledge is power. All we can do is hope. I thank you again for joining me this week, and until next time, please take care of yourselves and be kind to one another. Bye.